Hello.
Hello.
So we are here because, well, in part we're queuing up the sermon series, in part because the recording failed when you did your sermon. Let's just break the fourth wall there.
Do it again.
To show people how the sausage is made. So we want to talk a little bit about what Mark is about, what's happening, and then I wasn't here when it was your sermon. I was preaching at another church, so I want to kind of hear where you were queuing us up and where you were taking us.
Sure.
So I put you down on the rota. I said, right, we're starting a series on Mark. What's Mark about for you?
It's very exciting, like action-packed book. I feel like it was really nice finishing kind of the Christmas story and the nativity and hearing like Jesus' birth again and again over December, and that was very fun. And I was really happy to start Mark not with the nativity story, but straight into this like punchy, really intense, very fast-paced book that really points out like the power of Jesus and like healings, and he talks about demonic powers and like just all these different aspects of Jesus and like how amazing he is, but it's like story after story after story, and just suddenly then just ends.
Yeah,
it's very exciting.
It's intense. I loved. I think Ryan made the point in his sermon. You know, sometimes we make the Gospels all sound the same, but I remember what feels like a million years ago now when I was at Bible College, we did Mark in Greek and we did John in Greek, and they look so different.
Oh yeah.
And John is obviously full of all these speeches and this theology, and you can't quite tell, you know, you get red letter Bibles sometimes, you can't quite tell when Jesus is speaking and when he's finished speaking, when it's the writer of John's Gospel going off on little theological side quests. Whereas Mark, it's like each story starts, there's this little word, euthus, like kai euthus is the phrase that comes, and it means like immediately.
Yeah.
So it's like he walked and immediately a crowd came and this happened and immediately he said this and immediately a demon came and immediately and it just makes it this really intense thing. I read a while ago, and I can't remember who said it, I probably should have prepared for this, shouldn't I? Okay. Some people think the Gospel of Mark was written as a play.
Oh wow.
And that kind of makes sense, doesn't
That's
it? When
cool.
you read it, it's like,
Yeah.
and the person who said that said maybe even this Greek word is like a stage direction, like, enter stage and this happens, enter stage and this happens. I'm not quite sure if that's true,
There's
but
like no intermission in Mark though.
Yeah,
Just zero intermission.
There's no
All the way
pause,
through.
there's no let up. But yeah, it does have that drama and that action, doesn't it? A lot of people say it's a good gospel to read if you're reading a gospel for the first time because of that, because it's there's no fat, it's the shortest,
Definitely
isn't it?
keeps you going. Yep.
Yeah. We think it's probably the first gospel written.
Yep. And also that like probably first-hand accounts from Peter, but written or like taken down by, what is his name, Papillus? Populus? I don't remember his name.
Is it not Epaphras?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh gosh, I feel like we should have done.
Look it up, guys. Look it up.
You know, it's fascinating. So I was just listening to a Bible Project podcast this week, and they're writing about like the creation of the Hebrew Bible, the intertestamental books, and of the New Testament. And one thing that Tim Mackey, who I just think is a genius, highlights is that in both the Old Testament Hebrew Bible and New Testament, it actually tells you who the writers are and who this kind of, there's a little community of people who write the letters, who construct things and put things down. And they're kind of named. That process of writing things, collecting things, putting it together is all there. A lot of people believe that Mark was the first. I think in part because they think it's so short and sharp and simple. And then Matthew and Luke clearly have access to Mark as they write their Gospels, and they kind of embellish things and expand on it. Church tradition was actually that Matthew was the first Gospel, which is why it's first in our Bibles, and then Mark was a kind of condensed, abridged version that came after, which I think is an interesting other perspective. But I think it does make sense. There are even some things that are a little unexplained or aren't that neat in Mark, and yet later on, I think in Matthew and Luke, they explain things a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think Mark does feel like the earliest. It feels like it's written probably before the destruction of the temple, so that gives it a date, kind of pre-AD 70. Doesn't talk as much about the temple as the other Gospels do, which have a lot on that. especially in Luke and in John, which maybe points to them being written down a little bit later. But it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great one. It's good.
Have you got a highlight of Mark?
I like the way it kind of wraps up, and like as in everything wraps up together. Obviously, I looked at the intro and then also at Mark 1 specifically, and I enjoy the kind of sandwiching that he does. So he says like, this is the beginning of the good news. And so you kind of get this really exciting story about a healing. And, you get this story about Jesus being baptized. And then you end up kind of going through this journey and you hear about like Jesus' authority, but at the end you kind of hear this story of the good news again, where somebody goes off running off to tell this good news of Jesus. And it really sandwiches like what's going on in the book, but also that's a real reflection of the whole book. So you get this start of the book and the way that Mark 1 kind of plays out. At the end of Mark, there's also this running away of the women from the tomb, kind of in almost like a panic, like, where is Jesus? And it just finishes. But I love the way that I guess it is that drama, almost play-like experience where you really have to, it helps you to kind of almost embody the book as you go through and you feel it. And it's not just factual or intellectual, it's very emotive because it is that intensity that draws you along as you go. So you really do have to become a bit part of the story. You see it firsthand. That's great.
Yeah, Jesus is very emotive in it as well, isn't it? I think it's in Mark where he turns and he looks and he gets indignant or he gets angry, and he's a very emotional figure in Mark. So is that a little bit what you spoke about in your sermon? Good news, the gospel. Yeah,
lots about the good news. Obviously it's January, it's the start of the year. What is the good news for us? And also what is good news in our lives, or what would be good news if we get to the end of 2026 or whatever year we're in? What is the good news at that point? If we're looking ahead, what do we hope for? And actually, are we willing to let Jesus bring the good news in the way that he brings it in Mark? Because he's always bringing it in these unexpected ways. He is presented by John the Baptist right at the beginning, and John says, someone who is greater, who is stronger than I is coming, and then immediately it's that drama, enter Jesus. And like, did they expect Jesus to be that person? Most people no. And yet there he is. And are we expecting Jesus to show up in the ways that we expect him to? Are we expecting him to bring that good news in our lives the way that we think or want it to be brought? Or is he going to do something new and different and better because he is the greater and the stronger one?
That's deep. You use the word good news, that's the word gospel, isn't it? Euangelion in the Greek. You meaning good, comes before lots of things. Angelion, where we get the word angel. Angel just means news or messenger. What does that word mean, do you think? Because it's interesting, I think we often use gospel's this big word that has lots of meanings, right? It means a type of music and it means something that's really true. This is a gospel, Mark. But often in our kind of tradition of church, gospel means how to become a Christian and the message of the cross. And yet here's the word, beginning of the gospel, right at the start of Jesus' life. And he's proclaiming good news all the way through. So when it says good news, when he says good news, what do you think it means? What is that central message?
I tend to feel like the good news is Jesus. Like, it's just everything that Jesus is wrapped up. And so in the way that we have this presentation of Jesus' power in the synagogue in Mark 1, the way that he does cast out demons, which you don't see as much in other gospels necessarily, the way that he just quickly is healing person after person, and we see this life as opposed to the death that could be around him. He's bringing life all around him. These are the things that are the good news, and he also really builds community, the way that he gathers his disciples to him, the way that he draws crowds and brings people into his way of life. Those are all things that are the good news because they are Jesus' way of doing life. They're the way that things should be. And so he's presenting what is good news? It's the way things should be. And that is Jesus. Jesus' way.
Gosh, that's deep. That's really deep. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that phrase, like gospel is not a uniquely Christian phrase, is it? Evangelion. So often it was used when there was a conquest. There was like a post, wasn't there? Like, especially when Rome conquered somewhere, it'd be like, the good news has come. You are now under Rome.
I feel like this is new. This is cool.
Which if you've been conquered, that's not really good news, is it? But their whole idea was like...
propaganda, isn't it?
Yeah, it's propaganda.
Yeah.
But it was that sense of, you now come under the peace of Rome. Like, it's like and we often think of Rome as like a functioning government, aspirational kind of, the Romans, amazing, advanced. They were brutal, and they were more like a mafia, which I guess is very Italian, isn't it? They were more like a mafia, like, you are now under our protection. And it was this protection of, if I step out of line, you're going to destroy me. This protection means that I'm in danger of violence, means that I have to pay you things. And that was the peace of Rome. So I think it's quite playful that the New Testament uses that same phrase to mean what you say. Like, Jesus is the king now. And actually the good news is things are the way he wants it to be, the peace of Christ. Which actually in Mark comes through conflict, comes through demons coming out, and wild thing. Yeah. So what else did you say in your sermon? And what is the kind of application point? How do we live that out?
Okay. What else did I say in my sermon? Oh, that's a great question. Check notes. So I think just very much about, I think it was a very short and simple one, but it was about what are the stories of like our encounters with Jesus. When have we reflected on those times where he's shown up in those unexpected ways, but also he really turns things upside down with the man who is healed in the story right at the end. We see that Jesus heals him. He says, now go about your business. Do what you've always done. Go and sacrifice in the temple and get on with life. And also don't talk about this. Like, just keep it on the down low. And he, I think in his excitement, panic, fear, confusion, like this is something new. He's not experienced this and he's been told to just get on with life as normal. I don't know about you, but I think I would also be maybe a little bit like, oh, if this was the first time I had experienced Jesus and he'd done something just miraculous in my life that I'd never experienced before, and then he says, now go and do your normal things, I probably would also run off and be like, everyone! So there's this real flipping of like, what is going on in life? And everybody is about to experience this now. Like everywhere that Jesus walks, takes everything, all of these communities that he's touching, everyone in Israel is getting this experience of Jesus, and it challenges their beliefs and their ways of doing life and the way of doing community and the way of following God. And that's scary, but it's really exciting. And I think very much where we wrap up is like, are you also going to accept this good news in your life? Are you going to be willing to go out and be that person who can present the good news to someone else? Are you going to let Jesus move through you in that way that might shake somebody's world to their core? But how good is it if we do? So I guess the challenge really is just, are we willing to let him use us? Are we willing to let him do that in our lives? Is it too scary, or can we actually let him shake us up and bring something amazing out?
That's good. Yeah, I was prepping for my sermon on Mark 3 and going, how do you apply this? Like, how do you read a gospel about all these like exorcisms and healing the sick and all this incredibly powerful stuff, and then go, and now what? We're going to become like Ghostbusters. Yeah, off we go.
Find your neighbours.
But actually, it's that sense of, I love what you said there. That sense of, are we going to be shaped and changed by the power of Jesus and go out and kind of take part in that. Awesome. Yeah. So we're challenging people to read a chapter a week. That's pretty slow, isn't it? I think.
I mean, because it's so intense and full on, it's quite nice to just have a chapter and then really, like every segment, every few, like 5 verses or 10 verses is a story and a whole section on its own, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and there's lots of provocative stuff in there, isn't there? Like you've highlighted in chapter 1 straight away that concept of that some scholars call the messianic secret. So he's like, don't tell anyone about this. And I think taking those things and really meditating on it and going, why did he do this and what's happening here in the story? I think actually reading a chapter slowly each week up to Easter is going to allow us to respond to some of those really provocative things, and I'm really excited for this series.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. It's a good one. Yeah.
What helps you like prepare for a sermon like this? So when you're looking at this and you're kind of kicking off a sermon series and we're looking at a new book, what resources and tools helped unpack it a bit for
you? So I also love Tim Mackey and the Bible Project. I almost always go to them for like a nice, because they're visual as well. I realized they're very much theological knowledge, and they're doing more lectures and things now as well, but also in this format that like the millennium and the younger generations just love, like visuals as well. That's really helpful as just like an aspect of learning. What else did I use? I feel like I was looking at Tom Wright's Mark for Everyone. Always nice to have like a just, you know, your layman's kind of understanding of it. And really nice to just be able to sit down and see and hear kind of in not too deeply theological or theologically worded kind of way, something that just unpacks it in a different way for you. I couldn't tell you what else I actually used resource-wise, except for just reading the Bible and prayer. I can't remember.
I mean, I say that a lot to all of our preachers. I'm always like, the primary thing I want to hear is how you have sat under the text and wrestled with it.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to almost read through 10 times before you pick up a single book or commentary. And just let the text speak for itself.
Yeah. I like to, I often will read it and then I will listen to it as well, because sometimes I find that the way I might read something and the way, even listening to the very dry sounding Bible audio, whatever I have, sometimes just reads it in a way that maybe I hear something slightly differently. Yeah. So I find I like to do that as well, to just see if I can get out of my own head a little bit and see what else jumps out at me while I'm reading and listening.
Yeah, there are certain books of the Bible that hearing like David Suchet on the U version, read it out really powerfully, really works. I don't think it does with Mark, like, because I think it is really dynamic, and I think you almost need a bit more of you don't need it reading as if it's the word of God. Let me read this slowly and powerfully and with lots of bass in my voice. You need a kind of dynamic bam, bam, bam. But there's some good stuff out there that you can see and engage with it. I think probably the one thing the Bible Projects really highlight is the structure.
Yes.
And they always, and sometimes I think they just put a structure on everything, and then when you read the book, it doesn't always fit. Sorry, Tim. I don't think Tim Mackey will ever watch this, but if he does, he has a very specific method for interpreting. But I think with Mark, that's spot on, in that the first sort of 7 chapters is just power encounter, bam, 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 bam. And then 8 is Caesarea Philippi, where Jesus is with the disciples and says, who do you say I am?
Yeah.
9 is Transfiguration.
Yeah.
And then we're into the Passion story.
Yeah.
And at the heart of it is this, who do you say I am? So at the heart of it is discipleship. At the heart of it is, you know, who am I to you, and what difference does that make?
Yeah.
So I hope that as you read through it and go through it, hope this video, hope the sermons, the different resources you put together, hope it helps you answer that question, know Jesus a bit more, live out his way, and it's an encouragement to you.
Yeah. Amen.